We're live, and
the views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the individual co-host and do not reflect the official policy or position of the Firearms Radio Network and or their employers. Viewer discretion is advised. This is especially true on our live shows.
Broadcast for shooters, hunters, and gun enthusiasts. This is the Firearms Radio Network. The bandwidth for this episode of This Week in Guns is sponsored by Patriot Patch Company. PatriotPatch.co.
Welcome to This Week in Guns. This show is brought to you by the Firearms Radio Network and Patriot Patch Company.
And this show offers commentary on the latest firearms industry news, information, and buzz. I'm your host, Sean Herron. We've got a couple new panelists tonight, but before we get to them, I'm going to invite the guy you guys know. We've got Benjamin Allred, host of the Off-Road Podcast and shipper of freedom at Rainier Arms. Next up, we have Eric Trek Ultrecht. Trek is the owner of Michigan Defensive Firearms Institute, known simply as MDFI. Eric, thank you for joining us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Next up, we've got Pansy Steele, full-time three-gunner, firearms enthusiast, and German Shepherd mom. Pansy, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. So excited to be here.
That's awesome. You know, normally I'm joined by pansies, but now I've actually got someone whose name is Pansy.
Wow. I'm the complete opposite of my name definition, though. Much cooler than that.
That's awesome. Just kidding. Just kidding.
No, you're fine. I love it.
All right. First off, before we get started, let me thank our advertisers. We've got the Patriot Patch Company, and I just got a Patriot patch in the mail today. It says bullets are forever. It's a picture of a heart with a bullet or a round just going through it. A little bit morbid, but amazing in my opinion. I ordered 2 of them. I don't even know why. I'm not even a patch collector. I don't know what's happening in my life. They've got cleaning mats, they've got patches, t-shirts, all kinds of other great stuff. Check them out at patriotpatch.co. And next up is Manticore Arms. They make a ton of accessories for AR-15s, Scorpion Evos, AKs. They're very, very well known for the IWI Tavor. So go check them out. Use coupon code TWG10 if you just want to make some upgrades to your gun. They make excellent parts, made in America. Great company, great people, and they're supporting the Firearms Radio Network. Again, that's manticorearms.com, coupon code TWG10. All right, guys, let's hop into the stories. One that I saw this week that was pretty dang awesome is the Spikes Tactical and the Pipes Hitters Union have no apologies for threatening Antifa. I don't know if you guys saw it. They basically put out an ad that had four places where there was some Antifa, gatherings, I guess. And it basically has the backs of some hardened individuals with guns and plate carriers and things like that. People said that they were inciting violence. The story is actually on Vice News. And Spikes Tactical was not apologetic at all. In fact, their apology, or their response, I should say, to any criticism was just a picture of their snowflake lower that has the safety selector has safe space, triggered, and full libturd. Thoughts, guys?
0 timestamps given.
Exactly. I would say that's pretty good. And good for them. You know, their picture didn't indicate any violence, in my opinion. And even if it did, whatever, you know,
I think certainly depicted violence, but the fact is the people want to say that it's inciting violence, but Antifa is the violence. I think you're absolutely right that we have a society now that is becoming afraid of the thought of a gun, the sight of a gun, and the reality is that guns in the hands of good people stop bad people every single day. Industry companies stand up and don't apologize. There's nothing wrong with that ad. In fact, right before the show, I went and made sure that I got a good, clean look at it. And there's clearly there's a violent party, and we see it in the news all the time. And anyone that thinks that Antifa is not a domestic terror group, they're out of their mind. Anyone that calls themselves anti-fascists by doing fascist behavior, unfortunately, they blend right in with today's society, because you can make excuses all day long. But good for them. It was, it's going to get a lot of miles in the advertising route, but the end of the day, there was nothing wrong with the ad, because just like what we saw with the horrible shooting in Texas with an AR-15, an AK-47, whatever semi-automatic weapon that it was, there was a good dude who grabbed his gun out of a safe, grabbed rounds and a magazine, and sprinted barefoot to defend life with that very same weapon. And as we always find out, it's not about the tool, it's about the person, the willingness of that person to do evil or to do good. So you know what, good to see it. If it offends people that are against freedom, I guess I'm all for it.
So be it.
Very well said.
All right, awesome, good stuff. We will move on after that. All right, guys, I don't know. Franklin Armory releases 11.5-inch barreled non-NFA SBR. This is called the Reformation. It says no tax stamp. It does have what appears to be an adjustable stock. It does have what appears to be an 11.5-inch barrel, and it does have a very interesting mark next to the safety selector. This has kind of gotten the gun industry, the gun world's heads are rolling. I've read a lot of articles on it. I talked to Ryan Kleckner, host of Trigger Words, but also firearms attorney, recoil writer, etc. And we have speculated behind the scenes. He wrote an article on Recoil Web that was very, very interesting, but still, ultimately, I don't think anyone knows what the heck's going on.
Good.
Yeah. I'm literally sitting there like, what is it? Is it a shotgun? Because in their thing, it says not an SBR or SBS, short barreled shotgun.
Yeah, it says not a rifle, not a shotgun, no tax stamp.
So what's it shoot is my big question. I mean, it's obviously got their binary trigger, which, helps go around those no full automatic laws.
Yeah, not just that, yeah, but yeah, I mean, that might be a part of it, but they're saying that this is not an SBR, and that's just I think they're playing fast and loose with the rules. I think they've found something that they're exploiting, similar to Silencerco and the 50 cal muzzleloader with a suppression device permanently affixed to the front of it. I just don't know what it could be.
I'm torn with this one. I'm a constitutional libertarian, which means that if it makes any politician that doesn't know what they're talking about, their brains bleed, then I'm generally 100% behind it, especially in these gun laws. I mean, it's the classic 22 with a wood stock, good to go. Ruger 1022 with a collapsible AR-15 stock in the state of California, kills children from helicopters, evidently, just because it has a collapsible stock on it. Here's my biggest concern with just like this with the Shockwave. The shotgun that's a firearm but not a shotgun, is now we start to see people touting it as the ultimate home defense. And I spend all year training about 1,500 students, and I can tell you right now that I'm not going to see a pistol grip firearm in a shotgun class. People are not going to be running those reliably for home defense. So my biggest question is, when we see it come out, we have to ask ourselves, kind of like Ian Malcolm did in Jurassic Park, just because we should, but you know what? Once again, if it shows the folly of the ridiculous gun laws that are out there, then I'm all for it. I would just warn people, hey, it might not be the holy grail that you think it is to go spend a lot of money, but if a company wants to prototype it to show that they can legally sell it, just like the suppressed muzzleloader, by all means, you know what? Let's laugh at the politicians. I have no problem with that.
I think it may ultimately lead to some badness because I think if they do point out a loophole, or if they do point out a portion of the law that's written in a way that doesn't fully cover everything, it's going to become a target like bumpfire stocks and any kind of other trigger enhancement device that increases rate of fire or anything like that. So it's kind of this double-edged sword. They seem to be the type of company who wants to kind of play in that area. And ultimately, you know what? I guess I'm fine with it. I really don't have a problem with that. Figure out what those are. Let's exploit them to the best of our ability till those things are then outlawed. But I'm just really curious what it's going to be. I can't possibly imagine. I've definitely got some ideas, but speculation at this point. So what
do we got? Speculation. Smooth. I've heard smoothbore. I've heard binary trigger. The two shots. Yeah.
Rifled 410s.
Yeah, that's going to be a shotgun in that case, though. Any kind of rifling there is going to. Yeah, I don't know. I've heard that only fires on release because the law is written with the word pull.
And here's where I would, as an educator, this is a very interesting one. This I've heard in my alumni group, that this conversation. This has actually been posted quite a bit. We've talked about it, and there's a great video out there of it's one of the TED Talks, and there's a engineer that designed a bike that's backwards. In order to ride the bike, the handlebar controls are backwards, and he gives people that are veteran bicyclists, and it's funny to try to watch these people ride the bike, but he's taught himself to ride this bike backwards. But now when he gets on a normal bike, because his brain has learned. So my biggest thing is, these things are cool. Bump fire stocks. Hey, if you want to go out and burn through an entire case of ammo safely and responsibly, go for it. My big thing is, we all know that they're not for, you're not going to run, no police department's going to run them because the liability there is too great. Doing mag dumps with a bump fire finger, as we've all pointed out, you can do it, but it's not, you're not going to get your hits. So my concern would be, don't cool fad, go for it. If it's a smack in the face of Feinstein because she's an idiot, go for it. If you want to hang on the wall with a big sign saying we could, all right, but don't get it mixed up that if you have a trigger that fires on the release and you've been training your entire life on the industry standard, understand that you're going to have to unlearn and relearn things that could put you in a liability situation if you have to use it for a real purpose. So that's, as an educator that deals with firearms and students all the time, that, you know what, once again, it goes back to freedom, and freedom responsibly. And that's what it's all about.
Love it. So there's a couple of guns that have been announced lately. I'll just briefly mention each of them. Century releases a Draco 9 AK style pistol. Palmetto State Armory is going to build some expensive MP5 clones, so they're getting in the roller lock arena. And Seekins Precision releases a new rifle for precision shooters. Anyone excited about any of those? Any of those kind of tickle anyone's fancy?
I am super excited about the Century Arms Draco. It's so adorable. I really want to shoot it. And I love that it takes Glock mags. And I guess, I don't know, as a woman, I think I love cute versions of, of lethal things, I suppose. But it's just super cute, so I want to shoot it. And I think it's really cool that it doesn't have, no silly proprietary magazines. And you just easily just shove a Glock 19 mag in it. So I want one. And the price point's not too bad, so.
No, $724 retail, so we'll see it on the street for even less than that. And honestly, yeah, Glock mags, that's a huge key feature. I wonder how many rap videos we're going to see these in. A lot of people do like the MP5 clones. I'm not a roller lock guy. I think that even a lot of the clones that are out there are super, super, super expensive. So I don't know. It's going to be less expensive than what we've normally seen, but I guess I'm still not excited about it. But then again, I'm just not an HK guy.
Well, if the money's there, I mean, if the demand is there and the money's there, people want an AK pistol that fires pistol mags. They want another MP5 that's cheaper. I mean, they'll be popular. They'll definitely be popular.
Yeah. One other gun story that I saw that I was interested in, I saw that Ed Brown and Zev joined forces on a new 1911. So I just wonder if this is a little bit of a, hey, me too, after the Agency Arms and Nighthawk Custom collaboration of the last year.
Those were very nice too.
They were.
Yeah, the 1911 is my favorite gun. I carry a Glock 19. I will till the day that I die. But the 1911 is by far my favorite. It's iconic. It's an American. And there are great 1911s out there. And then we probably all have seen the guy that comes home, look at this new 1911 I bought. And then 5 rounds later, it blows every part, off. And there's just a smoldering frame in their hand. I see a lot of low end 1911s come to classes and they never make it through. The high end ones do, but I can tell you this, the high end ones are very few and far between, because once you go from a class where people are just drawing from their nice shark skin holsters.
Yeah.
To a class like Will Petty's BCQB, where you're going to run your 1911 one-handed off of an Oldsmobile Alero because you've sustained an injury simulated. Mm-hmm. People are like, well, I don't want to scratch this. It cost me $4,000. Well, and this is the conundrum. If you're going to put something else out there that's really expensive, people need to understand that, yeah, it should run, but you also need to treat it like a life support tool. So it'll be cool. The Agency 1911 Nighthawk's beautiful, but I guarantee you I will never see one in a class where somebody has to get it dirty.
Absolutely. They are super expensive. I have a Nighthawk Custom 10 millimeter long slide that I absolutely love, but I don't even like sitting it down on the table.
What's wrong with you?
It's a loaner. I don't want to have to pay for it. All right. But, I do like 1911s. I actually shot one in competition for an entire year, never cleaned it once. It eventually failed, but that was after thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of rounds. And it was in Rock Island Armory. So some of them hold up, some of them don't. But I'm always down to look at some cool stuff. I wonder what the next hip Glock company and hip 1911 company is going to be to take the plunge together.
Yeah, that's up in the air.
Totally. Next up, Diana Muller and coalition of 50 women gun owners take to DC. So they basically, the article says women from around the country are preparing to travel to the U.S. Capitol as part of a DC project, or part of the DC Project, a nonpartisan initiative that brings 50 women, one from each state, to Washington, D.C., to meet with their legislators about issues addressing the Second Amendment. A Girl in the Gun Women's Shooting League is a presenting sponsor of the DC Project, which I think is pretty cool. So, Pansy, I think you might have something to say about this.
Yeah, I think this is amazing. I mean, I feel like everyone, well, not everyone, like a lot of people think that women are incapable of protecting themselves, and this is great that we have a woman from each state going to the Capitol to let them know that we are here and we're not afraid. We're not afraid of guns, and guns aren't scary, and we can do this. And so I think that's great. I don't know. I just think it's amazing. I kind of wish I could go myself. And Diana Muller's amazing too.
Yeah,
she's so strong, and I think this is, a girl and a gun, and those like the well-armed women, those type of groups are great too. So I think this is amazing. I love this. Love this so much.
Yeah, I think it's cool as well. Obviously, I see this demographic constantly, all over the place, becoming just a bigger part of things, and I'm always glad to see it. And this is just, another cool thing. I'm curious to see how it goes for them, and whether they can affect change.
Yeah, definitely. It'll be good.
Need to bring some LGBTQ or whatever their acronym is now, like the pink pistols, and have one from each state there too, just to kind of be like, hey, gun owners are all over every diversity.
Yeah, absolutely. Completely agree. I'm down. Yep. And we'll have them on our show too. So I'm good to go with whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have been keeping up with Silencerco news lately, but recently they announced that Silencerco founder steps down to focus on other paths. Josh Waldron and Jonathan Schultz resigned from their respective positions as CEO and president this week. Schultz is taking over. Waldron is doing other things, staying on as advisor and other things like that. Shortly thereafter, I saw that their top sales guy, last name Erbst, was no longer employed by Silencerco. And then I actually heard that either that day or the day later that the host of the Silencerco podcast was laid off as well. Individually, I'm not sure any of these spell doom and gloom, but you put all three of them together and that equals interesting times for Silencerco.
Yeah, are they going back to their roots or what?
Yeah, I think just this aside, 2018 is going to be a very interesting journey for a lot of the firearms and training industry. Everyone was tooled up for, as scary as it is, everyone was tooled up for a win in the other direction for the election. And we saw, my God, you could go on online to the big names, and get 1,000 rounds of ammo for half the cost of what it should be, plus 10 PMags. They were just hemorrhaging PMags. And that's because everyone got stuck with inventory. So what we're seeing is companies that were tooling up to fight the great Satan in power, and expecting to see a ban get put in place on the first executive order of a new administration. And it didn't happen. So, is it going to change this company? Absolutely. What we should be watching for is, just as a broad stroke, what are we going to see? There's rumors, 25% of the firearms industry is going to close up shop. I've heard that one floating around. I've talked to a lot of friends in the industry that are in. It's difficult right now because everyone's kind of got what they need. At least a lot of the customers, until of course, Pansy, she wants her Draco pistol, and they're going to come out with one of those. Magazines right now. You need P magazines. You can literally step outside Michigan and trip over about 5 of them. There's that many, and ammo is available. So yeah, we'll see. It's going to be a very interesting year, I think.
Yeah, I agree. And unfortunately, I think Silencerco is going to be one of the first high profile losses that we see in the industry.
I like their cans.
Yeah, I've got a Silencerco Saker. I hate their mounts. Love their can. I switched all over to Dead Air, but yeah, I don't know. It'll be a tough day if they do go. I hope they can survive. I hope they're making the changes necessary to do so. But I'm unfortunately, ultimately, I'm not. I don't hold a lot of faith that they're going to keep going.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting year, especially with the way states are going right now, as we'll talk about later. But yeah, it's kind of getting crazy with all that.
Yeah, agreed. A little bit more positive news. Julie Golub releases a firearm safety books for kids titled Toys, Tools, Guns, and Rules. It is a children's book about gun safety. It's on Amazon. It's doing extremely well. When I've looked at it in Amazon, it was on the bestseller list, and it's $10 for the paperback or $7.99 for the ebook. I think this is a good thing. I recently interviewed Yehuda Reamer on another show who also writes children's books involving guns and gun safety and things like that. I think this is a good thing. I think historically we've been very reticent to approach this just because guns, kids, all that was kind of like this forbidden zone. But I'm really glad to see that we're breaching that. We're making guns a little bit more approachable for parents, for kids. And I think these books are a great idea. And Julie Golub, obviously excellent and fantastic ambassador for anything in the gun world.
Yep. I'll be picking up one here shortly.
And that's I think that's a great response. We have the announcement of the book, and then one of our panel is like, hey, I'm going to go pick it up. And that's, I think, the only problem. And you bring this up. It's great. The book, let's get education into the hands of kids. Let's make them understand the severe consequences of mishandling firearms. And you and me and everybody else in this panel, we would educate our children. We'd educate anyone's children that we would sit down with and say, hey, these are not toys. They take great responsibility. The problem is these awesome works, like Julie's works, they're not going to get to places they need to. When are we going to see in mainstream public education? When are we going to start, fire alarms? Billy Johnson at Amidst the Noise has talked about this. When there's a drowning in a town, everybody comes together and says, hey, we need to start teaching how to tread water, water awareness, and how to save lives. But every time there's a tragedy with a firearm, everyone's just like, well, we need to get rid of the guns, even though there's no way we can do it. Books like this, education like this is the stuff that people need to get over themselves, and they need to say, hey, America has guns, freedom, and guns are a tool of defense and freedom. So let's educate our kids just like we do about swimming, just like we do about crossing the road. So I wish the best of luck to this book. The problem is, are the people that are probably doing the education. I don't want to stifle the book, the work she's done, but they're probably doing the education themselves. We need to find a way to get that stuff in front of everybody, and that would be an amazing thing. So kudos for the book. I hope it does. I hope it gets to more people than would normally be doing any education without that.
Yeah, I totally 100% agree. I hope that it does reach a little bit more mainstream than just the gun world. But I think that the more we see this, the more it sells on Amazon and hits those bestseller lists, the better off we'll all be.
Definitely agree. I'm definitely going to be picking up a couple. I don't have kids of my own, but I have nieces and nephews, and I'm definitely going to gift them to their parents, because I think everyone, needs to get in on this and understand and be able to teach our children about guns, because,
Yeah. I'm on the journey of educating my children on gun safety and all that. I've got 3 boys, my oldest being 5, my youngest being 1. So I've got a ways to go in keeping them educated and keeping on top of it. I mean, for me, the education never stops. So,
well, and good for you. You're doing far more. Even you say I'm working on it, but you're doing far more than most people would ever even.
Yeah, I own plenty of guns, so it's like they're in the house.
Right.
Even if they're locked up, they're not safe, because a key could be lost or a combination could be found out, but my children would know not to touch the guns. So
there you go.
Just the Eddie Eagle alone was a huge relief to hear my son start repeating it and know it, and it passed on to my nieces. So far, so good.
That's awesome.
Good stuff. Recoil reports that Federal Premium launches new Hydra-Shok Deep for self-defense. I initially saw the headline and was just going to skip it. Then I actually started taking a little bit of a look at the projectile, and it is kind of interesting how it's shaped. It's normal kind of hollow pointish thing, except it peels back maybe a third of the way, and the rest of it, and it still retains a tip. It retains a lot of the mass of the object. Looks pretty interesting, and I don't know, it looks pretty painful, to be perfectly honest. So I think I might pick some of these up, check them out, and see how they go. But
yeah, my big concern every time that I see a new ammunition, I mean, we could talk the G2 fad. The first pedal sneaks up on the bad guy, the second pedal taps him on the shoulder, the third pedal punches him in the face, and the fourth pedal buries him in a shallow grave.
Yeah.
Stuff is great, but I would this is where I start to lean towards let's look at the guys that are gathering the data, the FBI, the DOJ. There's a reason that they use the rounds that they do. You've got all sorts of different types. You have ball, you've got the plated ammunition, you have mechanically bonded, chemically bonded, you have solid rounds. HSTs and Gold Dot G2s, they seem to be performing very, very well on intermediate barriers. And that's the biggest problem we see with ammo, is they shoot them into ballistic gel, which is cool. It looks great on YouTube, and they make these awesome, perfect pedal pictures. Not many bad guys are holding on to gel blocks. They're usually wearing all sorts of clothes for vehicles. So deeper penetration, and I'm not saying this because I don't know this ammo, deeper penetration doesn't mean anything to me if it won't punch through auto glass very well, if it won't go through drywall very well, or will it go too much? And this is the stuff that everybody just needs to research. So cool, if it's like depleted uranium, bad guys vaporize, and you don't have to worry about shoot-throughs, I'll buy 2 boxes. I'll buy one from you. But yeah, we'll see. Hydra-Shok has been a name that's been trusted for a long time. So what did they do to make it new? And is it just a fad, or is it performance?
I like it. All excellent points. Anyone else on that one?
I agree. I'm a wait and see guy. I usually like seeing what performance it does. I watch lots of videos before I choose an ammo, depending upon the gun. And I even research the video with my gun in particular. So like, say my Glock 42, it's a 380. What ammo works really good in a 380 versus what doesn't?
G2 rip ammunition. Just buy G2. No, bad guys. It sucks the bad guys into a black hole, and they disappear.
Never.
Next up from Recoil, they talk about spare magazines. Should you even bother to carry a reload? I am conflicted on this. Historically, I'm well known that I didn't carry a spare magazine. Then I picked up some holsters where I was able to appendix carry a spare mag and my gun all in the same holster, which was convenient for me. All in one, made it easy, made it simple. So I started carrying a spare mag. But then again, you look at a lot of self-defense situations. You look at this, it's not like people are reloading except for in the crazy of situations. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I'll take this one last.
Go ahead. Well, you did say it right there, Sean. In the craziest of situations, that's why we carry a gun.
Yeah.
So in the craziest of situations, you would need the extra magazine, correct?
Perhaps. But historically, if you look at the body of evidence, how many, and I can't even honestly think of one off the top of my head where I saw them change mags and continue firing. It's usually real close engagements, and you don't see mag changes.
Yeah. Well, and I'm, like I said, with like my Glock 42, I'm limited to 6 or 7 rounds. So an extra magazine doesn't hurt me.
Yeah. Pansy, go ahead.
Oh no, it's just it's just I carry a shield, and I have an extra mag, and it's just just in case, because like you said, I only have a couple of rounds in the shield, so it's just in case scenario, in case I need it, So I do. I think you definitely should. Well, I do. So go ahead.
All right.
Yeah, I have to be careful on this answer. I was anxious in recoil concealment for the everyday carry of the professionals, and if you look at the article, there's no spare magazine with my EDC 19. And here's the thing, I am a big proponent in the way that I teach. The mission drives the gear. So when I go down to the grocery store right down the road in Luther, Michigan, in my flip flops, t-shirt, shorts, I'm just rocking my G19. I got 16 rounds in it. If I'm going on a road trip, I'm going to Detroit. T-shirt, and I guarantee I'm not just carrying my G19. EDC to me is far more than that. It's about having the gear that drives the mission. So if I look today when I went to the post office, I have post office, let's see, bank, a bunch of other stuff. 19, I've got an ankle med kit. I've got my pocket knife. I have my new Surefire flashlight. I have my wallet, my money clip, my car keys. So it starts to get daunting, and I don't like to feel like Batman. I've had to wear a duty belt before. So if I've got a G42, great little gun. Yeah, if I'm rocking my G42, and in fact, we have one in the house, I'm definitely carrying a spare. If I have a shield, great gun for me, because I start to look at statistics and look at the federal law enforcement statistics from FLETC and from the DOJ, where the average magazine expenditure in the opening volley is 40 to 50%. And the average rounds coming back from bad guys in an engagement is 7 rounds, which works out to about 40 to 50% of a double stack magazine. So with that, then I ask myself, hey, what's the hit percentage on average shooter? And it's 18% in law enforcement. So that means out of a G19, I've got an 18% hit rate, where I consider myself to be a pretty good shooter. So I might take those odds. It looks really small if I have multiple attackers, and a G42 looks really small if I have multiple attackers, and my LCP that I love is tiny. So it's having critical thought, maximizing your EDC to match what you are most likely to encounter. But this is why people talk about bug out bags. The bug out bag, the car bag, the other plan B is, hey, what if I was going to the grocery store and the car broke down and now I have to walk 3 miles home, and I'm going out in black bear country where there's literally 200-pound black bears roaming around? I might want something more than my G19, so I keep an unloaded 20 gauge in there. Cool. So yeah, the spare mag debate is going to be, it's like the 9 versus 45. It's going to keep this industry going. But I love the fact that you guys are like, hey, I've got a small gun, single stack gun. I'm going to carry a spare mag. Cool. You've thought about it. There's a lot of people out there that do the thou shalt or the ami, gami, gami, you must carry a spare magazine. And if your mission calls for it, rock it. So I love the question, because it takes us into, we can take 2 roads. We can jump on the bandwagon, or we can say, no, this is my world and I'm just going to solve my problems.
And I think that was very extremely well said, man. I like it. And I agree.
Thanks, bro.
All right. I don't have anything else to add after that. I say that's an excellent place to end that one.
I agree.
All right. Let's see. Let's move on. That was some positive news. Let's move into some other stuff. 4 officers shot in North Carolina. Suspect also shot and captured. This, I believe, has turned out to be a little bit closer to home for most of us, because one of the officers shot is a well-known 3-gun competitor. And, just awful. The York County Sheriff's Office said 4 law enforcement officers were shot late during a search for a suspect late Monday night and into Tuesday morning. Started out as a domestic violence call, ended up with officers down. Anyone have any additional info on that? It's just, it's a sad day. I hate seeing this. I don't like it when the boys in blue get hit and take hits. It's
4 too many. Our society now is we're hearing this news way too much, and the topic for a whole nother podcast about, are we by society making these guys and gals that go out and protect us every single day into targets, because we just don't like the fact that they're going out and enforcing the law and their budgets are being cut. So yeah, there's pressures up. Godspeed to them, and well recovery for anybody that was injured, and to the families. That's just absolutely awful. But to the guys and gals that are out there on patrol, you can't walk up anymore to a car that's rolled over and think it's just a car accident. You have to approach that vehicle like it could be an ambush and wait. And that's tragic for anybody that's upside down in that car that has no ill intentions. But this is where we've gotten to, is now folks that are out there doing the job, they've got to be very, very careful about what they walk into, because the days of policing, it's just, they're doing the best they can, but there's just not that. They're reactionary. There's not much time to be proactive anymore.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah, it's gotten scary out there. I almost want to venture to say that we've probably had as many police deaths as we've had days in this year so far. They just buried a police officer here in Washington today. And it's kind of getting ridiculous how often it's starting to happen. Yeah, some of it's the news responding or reporting it, but you know, it seems to be getting worse and worse every year.
Yeah, and we had the culture I'm sure that all of us grew up on is teacher calling our parents to hear that we were acting up in class, and our parents would make us pay for it. And now when you talk to educators, it's a teacher is scared to call the parents because the parents are going to say, well, how dare you say that about my child? So we're seeing societal shift, and it's the same thing. You look back the 20s and 30s, how it went from the junior G-man, every kid wanted to be a federal agent, to everyone was emulating the mobsters. And we see these societal shifts where now it seems to be society okay to call everyone that's out there on the job, a pig for trying to enforce the law that, oh, by the way, we the people have the control over. So if you don't like the laws, get organized, petition your representatives and get them changed. But these folks, they're the thin blue line between anarchy, chaos, and just enjoying life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. So yeah, it's absolutely tragic. And all we can do as the good part of society is to try to keep giving them support so they can go out there and they can plant bad guys anytime that their life is threatened. And that's the best we can do. Wish them the best.
Absolutely agree. New Jersey seeks to expand assault weapons definition to include miniguns legally owned by residents of the state. Huge surprise. But the first attack on New Jersey gun owners' rights and property of what will be mini has been launched. This is the new governor. He's going to move a lot of stuff. But basically, under current regulations, a semi-auto rifle that has the ability to accept a detachable magazine and has at least 2 listed criteria will be considered an assault weapon. These criteria include a folding, telescoping stock, a pistol grip that protrudes conspicuously beneath the action of the weapon, a flash suppressor or threaded barrel designed to accommodate a flash suppressor, and a grenade launcher. Under the new bill, additional criteria are including a thumb stock and a second hand grip or a protruding grip that can be held by the non-trigger hand. The bill also requires that only 1 criteria be met rather than the currently required 2. This is one of those things that makes law-abiding citizens, law-abiding gun owners, instant criminals, and it's absolutely ridiculous. But of course, New Jersey, they elected this brand new rabid gun banning Democrat, and this is what happens.
So does that mean anything that can hold a chainsaw or an assault rifle? Or weapon?
Yeah.
Yes.
Dang.
A possible.
In fact, you can't even own a chainsaw in New Jersey. You have to cycle it by hand like a Gatling gun. That's the only way that it works. New Jersey, I don't know, maybe they're doing a one-up competition with California. California just created the biggest black market. Ammunition now has to go through an FFL. Good luck with that.
Yeah, there's another state going for that too.
Yeah, well, California, they just decriminalize. I mean, willful transmission of the AIDS virus to another person is no longer a felony. It's now a misdemeanor. I mean, violent assault on a law enforcement officer, violent felony by the name itself is, so here's the thing that we see about all these states that have these laws. 1, it doesn't do any good. Historically, we've known, it proves that there's nothing wrong with it, or it doesn't do any good. 2, we have to make a really serious decision as Americans about our politicians. And there's only 2 choices. And the first one, that they're that stupid that they believe that the barrel shroud is a shoulder thing that goes up, right? We all heard that clip. Or 2, agenda. Willful agenda. So I have a hard time believing that these people that can put their own pants on in the morning are that stupid that they believe that an M1 carbine from World War II with a rifle stock on it becomes an evil weapon if I put a stupid paratrooper stock on it. Willful agenda. And then the question that should have all of us concerned every day is, what is the end goal? And I can tell you what, it's the removal of the Second Amendment. And without that, everything else fails. So yeah, we need to start writing. This is why we got to get involved at the grassroots. So yeah, it makes my blood boil. And people in New Jersey, New York, get out, go to South Dakota. It's an amazing place, or Wyoming or Montana, and we'll build a giant wall there. I'll man it with you.
This I think may make that New Jersey governor's head spin. I just realized it doesn't have the battery on it right now, but this is a fully functional chainsaw. We have chopped all kinds of things with it, and USA Today, they gave us the idea, so it works both ways.
That's amazing. I need one of those actually, and mount a flamethrower to it.
There you go.
I love it. That's what we all need, one of these. So yeah, I don't know. Next up, we've got Washington Attorney General pushes for magazine restrictions and assault weapon permits. Attorney General Bob Ferguson pushing for a ban on high cap magazines and a permit requirement for assault weapon, in quotes, possession. We have seen here in Colorado that these high capacity magazine laws, we are limited to 15 rounds. I've owned this magazine for years, so it's grandfathered in. It's just a 30 round Glock mag. I've got hundreds of 30 round mags that are all grandfathered in, but guess what? You can go to any store in Colorado and buy a 30 round mag, even though they're by definition of the law illegal. You just basically pick it up. It's called a rebuild kit. You slap the parts together and there's a magazine. They sell them at every single store. These high cap magazines, they don't stop crimes. They don't do anything. Guess what? In Colorado, where we've had this law since 2013, there's only been one person charged with the high capacity magazine law. And that was an add-on charge for someone who had done a bunch of other idiotic things and committed a bunch of other crimes. And that was eventually dropped. So no one has even been successfully prosecuted under this law. It doesn't work. The police don't enforce it. It's impossible to enforce. It's just like you just said, Eric, the end goal isn't just this. It isn't making anyone safer. The end goal is the complete abolition of the Second Amendment. I say that all the time. I say, look, they don't want common sense gun control. They don't want compromise. They want it all gone. They want no guns anywhere, period, ever, for any reason. And they're just taking bites of that cake until it's all gone.
Oh, absolutely. Here, let's talk about absolute gun control. Nazi Germany, right? This is, oh God, everyone's like, he's going to compare somebody to Hitler and then win the argument. No, look at World War II, occupied everywhere. The Liberator pistol. I was just reading on this because I really want to get a replica of the Liberator. I think it's an awesome bit of history. These things were stamped out for like less than $1. They were a 45 caliber single shot, and they were designed to see a guy with a gun and go, hey, I need that gun. Bang. Now that gun is mine. It doesn't, that where there's criminal minds, criminal activity will happen. But what we've also proven is that where you take away good person and not the fighting mind, the tools that the fighting mind needs, and where the evil can prey on good. So whatever these policies are, there's no, I would love to be a prosecutor to fight these. I would love to be an attorney. I just don't have the formal training. But to me, it seems pretty simple if you put me in a court of law, because I could prove it really simple by sitting my opponent across a table and saying, all right, ladies and gentlemen, this is now a gun-free zone. All guns from here. And then you say to your opponent, are you carrying a gun? Well, no, this is a gun-free zone. And then the other person pulls out a gun and says, well, that was easy. And this is stuff that needs to play out. And the fact that we know that Colorado, what a beautiful state that's being destroyed from within, not by freedom-loving Americans, but by people that would have it become what California is. It's every story is just a call to get involved, get the right people into the organizations that can actually make a difference, and then also understand that the individuals make a difference at the grassroots. So yeah, I cry a little bit every time I hear these, because nobody has literally stood up on the floor. At least I haven't seen it on C-SPAN. Nobody has stood up on the floor of Congress and been like, "You're an effing retard," to somebody that makes these crazy and I apologize, don't mean to offend anyone with my language, but
no, not at all.
So ridiculous. If a free-thinking American could take them seriously, so if you do take it seriously, you should have a look in the mirror and go, what is it about life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness that you don't get? And we got a lot of work to do. Yeah, we got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, completely agree. And for the record, effing, we can say that on the show, no problem. Okay, that wasn't funny. I get it. All right. California mayor has rifle confiscated for shooting squirrels from his truck. Well, it just so turns out that he was near an airport, an active airfield, while people were nearby And I don't know. The cops showed up. They realized it was the mayor, and you know, there's not much else to say except holy crap, what an idiot.
I want him as my mayor.
Liberty is you get the rope of freedom, and you can hoist up great monuments with that rope, or you can hang your freaking self with that rope. And you've got to wake up every morning and go, I am going to be the epitome of responsibility, not a liability to my fellow man. And if you are firing at chipmunks out of your car near an active airfield in today's day and age, you get what you pay for.
Yeah.
So best case, if he really messed up, apologize, make a deep, hard look in the mirror and say, I'm never going to do that again. And maybe apologize to the cops that had to respond, and maybe the freaked out airport management people that thought it might be a dude shooting at aircraft. But yeah, that's just stupid.
Yeah. He also lost his rifle and was ordered to give up his concealed carry permit. And honestly, good.
Yeah. Consequences. There's got to be consequences.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I don't know, man. It's just people be crazy.
Well, we had a guy in Jackson, Michigan recently, and unfortunately, Michigan owns quite a few of the national news stories recently with firearms and people being stupid. We had a guy that opened fire on a white Econoline van that crashed into a parked car and kept going, and a CPL holder pulled out his gun and started shooting because he felt that the guy was fleeing from the scene of an accident, but the driver was having a diabetic seizure.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, the guy was having a diabetic seizure, and now there's bullets coming into his car, and he's having a really bad day. And so there has to be consequences.
Absolutely.
You have the right. You have the right to bear arms. You have the right to put a sticker on your car that says, don't tread on me. But if you tread on somebody else, expect to get bit in the ankle. You have to have repercussions. So I hope the guy learns from it. Get your permit back in a couple of years. Don't be stupid.
So you're saying Michigan is the new Florida?
No, I'm saying that we have a lot of work to go in America. I hear the stories, and we have the Home Depot shooter. We've got the guy in Jackson, Michigan with the van. We've got some doozies here that we in the community, in the grassroots, we have to try to educate. And I'm sure every state has that guy or that girl that they're always talking about.
Yeah, agreed. So New York, again, trying to make, law-abiding citizens criminals again. They basically have to recertify 1.25 million pistol permit holders, and they are now suggesting that they push that out just a little bit. Those are all set to expire at the end of the month due to the New York Secure Ammunition and Firearms Enforcement Act. This was signed in 2013. The problem is most people don't know that they actually have to recertify, and out of that 1.25 million, only 204,000 have actually done the recertification. It's just a bureaucratic nightmare, and there's a quote in here. It remains unclear how many permit holders have even been notified of the need to recertify and how many have not. So yeah, some people want to push this out a little bit, which makes total sense to me, because you can't criminalize people because because the bureaucracy stops them from being informed of what needs to happen and things. It's just more stupidity. But again, New Jersey, Washington State, New York, we're seeing it over and over. And again, yeah, someone just needs to stand there and be like, are you guys all idiots? Like, it's just pants on head retarded.
If you give me a top hat, I will do that for you.
Top hat? That's done.
It's got to have a patch panel on it. I'm just saying.
Yeah, definitely needs the Patriot Patch Company morale patches.
You know what? I got to give a shout out to Patriot Patch, and I saw that in the intro. I actually have my favorite gun is Vera patch on my shotgun. My shotgun's Vera. That is one of my favorite patches. So kudos to Patriot Patch Co. for that patch. I really love it.
I love the whole Firefly set that they did. They're amazing.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't know anyone on the East Coast. I know Eric's Michigan. I'm not, but I've heard of this gun store. Pennsylvania gun store owner gets 30-month sentence for weapons charges. Let's see. The name was Pittsburgh Tactical Firearms. He was sentenced to 30 months in prison, assessed a $30,000 fine for felony witness and evidence tampering and owning a shotgun classified under the NFA as a destructive device without supporting documentation. Basically, there's the quote in here is, he sold over 100 firearms without completing any of the federal paperwork for such sales, described them as cash and carry, cash out the door, turn and burn, off books. And wow,
Ouch.
When stuff like this happens, unfortunately, we need these people to have the book thrown at them. Well, like, this makes us all look bad. This is bad.
Yeah, real bad.
It goes, and it is. It's awful. And the worst part is, it's just like the IRS. If the IRS needs money from you, they're going to tell you they need it tomorrow. But if you have an error in your taxes that they made, it's going to take you a year, right? So this guy definitely needs to get the book thrown at him. But on the flip side, we keep talking about Operation Fast and Furious. Guns. I'm an ardent volunteer for the Brian Terry Foundation. We've got guns from Fast and Furious that have made their way over to the Middle East. They were in Paris for the Paris attacks. They have killed scores of Mexican nationals and federal agents. And it's sad because there's nobody been held accountable. But we do hear about stories like this. And hey, if you're going to have a federal firearms license, you're going to have a magnifying glass looking at you. And you need to be, one case like this, every FFL looks bad in the eyes of the public. So yeah, sorry, if you play stupid games, you're going to win stupid prizes. And if you're selling weapons out the back door, yeah, see you in a while, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, it sucks. I hate to throw one of our own to the wolves, but man, this is just abject stupidity. I don't know what happened, if he's just, not a good guy. I personally know a guy who knows this guy, and it's just, it's sad. He was described to me as a really good stand-up guy, and then kind of this all happened. This was all a couple of years ago. So it's been kind of interesting to follow this story. But yeah, he faced 55 years in prison, 30 months. Just a slap on the wrist.
I mean, if you're gonna own a gun shop, I think you have to understand the responsibility that comes with it. So you know that you're going to be under a magnifying glass, so you know that your papers and everything has to be in order, and you have to be a good person. Sorry, he's probably a good person, but you have to keep your stuff in order. So I don't really feel bad for him.
Yeah, well, it's if it was just like paperwork issues, and I'm like, okay, people screw up, no problem. But describing, and these are quoted from court documents: cash and carry, cash out the door, turn and burn, off books firearms. That scares me. That's incompetency mixed with
absolutely
willful deception and willful irresponsibility.
Right. Yeah.
Well, Hans, you brought up a great point. You even said, I apologize. I didn't mean that he's not a good person. And this is, I think, the biggest crux of what's going on with all of us in this panel right now. Here's the biggest reality. Anti-gunners, they're not our biggest threat. In fact, if you argue with an anti-gunner, you quickly find out that they are sticking their head in the sand and that they don't acknowledge facts. You can hit them with actual facts. You can cite them, things that are not Wikipedia, prove that they're wrong. But there is a big difference. Our biggest issue right now is gun owners, armed Americans. And it is the people that own guns that are stupid. Mm-hmm. The Second Amendment more than any anti-gunner. So do I agree with every gun law in the books? No, but they are the laws that we, the people, allowed to happen. So if you tell me that I have to understand what a straw purchase is, have an FFL and understand that I've got to do a 4473, I acknowledged that when I became a gun dealer. So this guy's doesn't mean he's not a good guy. It means he's a gun owner. He's not responsibly armed. And he doesn't understand that, yes, most of those people he probably sold the gun out the door to aren't going to commit a crime, but it takes one gun. Mm-hmm. And we had an FFL here in Michigan that within 24 hours of those guns disappearing in a robbery, Jacksonville, Florida.
Wow.
So if those guns were allowed illegally through that FFL, you are now involved in the murder of people. No, because you were irresponsible. And then guess what you made all of us that own guns look like? Members of that same criminal family. So yeah, I think I loved what you said. I don't think the guy's a bad guy, but he woke up in the morning one day or multiple days and said, I'm just going to be irresponsible. And that puts us all in jeopardy. So yeah, it's tragic. He got a hell of a slap on the wrist. And so I hope when he gets out, I know he's never going to be an FFL again. Yeah. Maybe take up like used car salesmanship, and there's a lot less consequence of failure there out the door of cash and carry.
Definitely. All right, we'll end on a fun note. last story of the night. Alien Gear to debut IWB holster with integrated fan at SHOT Show. They're going to introduce 4 new modular holsters in addition to an inside the waistband holster that features an integrated active cooling fan. So they put a fan in a holster. I feel like this is that MTV show where Exhibit was like, "Yo, dog, I heard you like holsters, so we put a fan in the holster."
Never been done before.
Dang it. What is going on? I felt like I was taking crazy pills, but then I was like, wow, this might actually be kind of awesome. I don't know. I'm of mixed opinion on this until I actually get hands on and check it out.
There's that awkward moment where you're standing in the quiet bank, ready for a bank robber to walk in, and your crotch fan kicks on and automatically lets everybody know that just cooling down around your crotch. I'm just going to leave that. That's going to be my final thought for the night.
I love it. I don't know, Pansy. What do you think? You down with this?
I think it's interesting. I can't wait to see it. I don't know. I don't know who's going to buy it, but I don't know. If I were meeting one with it, I'm probably going to laugh because I feel like, what if you just accidentally switch it from like low to high, like you said, like in the bank, and then all of a sudden it just sounds like something else, especially if you're a woman, it just sounds like something else.
Oh yeah, exactly.
What's in your holster there?
Yeah.
Right?
What exactly?
Where on the outside of clothes that says it's a holster.
Right.
There you go.
It's the one time in the bank where you would start yelling, "It's a gun, all right? It's not what you think it is." All right, fantastic. Well, they get one for creative marketing. And look, I'm going to check it out when we're there. I'm curious about it. I know that people in really hot climates, stuff like that, may be interested in this. It really depends on how bulky it is, how quiet it is,
right,
and how long the battery lasts. So, I like many other.
I'll let you know if I ever see one in a firearms class. I'll let you know.
I'm going to come to MDFI and I'm going to wear that holster. And I'm going to.
You, sir, have an open invite anytime you want.
Is it for your high point?
I was just going to say I'm going to put my high point. All right, guys, let's start wrapping this thing up. First off, please, just a reminder, support the companies that support the Firearms Radio Network. Patriot Patch Company, that's patriotpatch.co. You can get the Firefly patches. You can get this Bullets Are Forever patch. You can join their Patch of the Month Club, buy T-shirts, all that kind of cool stuff. And we really appreciate when you buy from them. Manticore Arms, go to their website. Just check it out. They launched a brand new website, manticorearms.com. If you like to put stuff on your rifles, if you like to improve your rifles, they have great stuff. Coupon code TWG10. Pansy, where can people find you online?
I have an Instagram. It's Pew Pew Pansy. So it's pretty easy.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I know that I follow you.
Oh, do you? Oh,
yeah,
that's sweet.
We like shooting.
Oh, yes. Just kidding.
Yeah.
I feel extra special now.
That's very awesome. Pansy, thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you so much for having me. It was so much fun.
Love it. Benjamin, buddy, where can they find you?
You can find me on the Off-Road Podcast, also on Instagram, Facebook, all that fun jazz, and here on the Firearms Radio Network.
Love it, buddy. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, yeah.
Eric, where can they find you online?
First of all, I want to thank you for having me out. You guys can find me at trainmdfi.com. I'm also Michigan Trainer on Instagram. And we're currently right now, I have to throw this out there. We've got a Danger Zone auction going on for the Brian Terry Foundation to raise money for the foundation named after federal agent Brian Terry, who was killed by guns from Operation Fast and Furious. So if you go on Gunbroker, type in Danger Zone auction, we've got about 47 awesome items. We've raised about $12,000 right now. So if you get a chance, check it out. Other than that, thank you so much for having me on. It was an absolute pleasure.
Eric, the pleasure was all mine. Thank you so much for joining us. And to all you people out there, don't forget Firearms Radio Network. That's firearmsradio.tv. And as I remind you every single week, This Week in Guns is very, very proficiently produced by Kenny Ortega and is a production of the Firearms Radio Network. We will see you next week.
Deuces.